Welcome into the night shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, joined in studio by my co-host, Kyle Collier, and producer, Jay Powers. And over the next hour, we got you covered on all things Kansas City Chiefs. Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Darcy, it's been a while.
It has.
On the night shift, at least. I know we're talking on your channel every week, but, man, it's been over a month, I feel like.
It has just been around that point because I was actually going back and looking at some of the old show notes. Mm-hmm. The last time we had a show, the Chiefs were 0-2 right before playing the New York Giants. So it has been exactly 5 weeks.
That's what it was.
And in that span, the Chiefs have gone 4-3. They're now a game above 500. They're still not in the playoffs, but they're only one game back of first place in the AFC West. And somehow, some way, we feel like this Chiefs team has figured it out in just a month. Isn't that great?
And they're not even a playoff team.
They're not.
Technically on the bubble. They're the 8th seed right behind the Jags at 7. You've already whooped some ass on some teams already in that playoff picture. Actually, no, you haven't. You've only played the Jaguars and lost to the Chargers. But point remains, Darcy, we haven't talked since pre-Giants week, Jackson Dart's debut. It's been a wild ride because I feel like in week 2 or post-week 2, vibes were down in Kansas City, were they not? Like the running game, the offense was broken. Worthy was still hurt. We were talking about, do you play Worthy or do you just put him on the shelf for a couple of games? And now Rashee Rice is back, and the Kansas City Chiefs offense is top 5 in scoring. What do you know?
Vibes might have been at an all-time low. I think the vibes were in the trash can, but
they were a little bit low.
It's crazy how a month can just completely change the momentum of the season because I was sitting in this chair a month and a half ago, and I was like, if they don't win this game in New York, we're going to have some conversations. Yeah. And obviously they did drop that game in Jacksonville, but you came away from it feeling like, okay, the Chiefs were the better team. They just made a mistake. Patrick Mahomes threw that pick 6 at the goal line. If he doesn't do that against the Eagles, which, that drop pass from Travis Kelce that resulted in the interception, the 14-point swing, if you don't have those costly mistakes, there's a world where the Chiefs right now are 6-1.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not how the games have played out. But for the Chiefs to be sitting here, at late October, being one game above 500, and you've seen the Chargers, who started off 3-0, completely choke away the division. They've chargered sooner than anyone thought they were going to charger. And the Broncos are 5-2, but they're squeaking out wins against the Jets and the Giants. So, yeah, we might be in third place in the West, but coming off of that just complete domination against the Las Vegas Raiders where you held them scoreless, put up 31 points, benched your starting quarterback in the third quarter, and started kneeling the game out before the 2-minute warning. We're coming off of that type of win to go above 500, to go to 4-3, and I think the complete vibe around this team has changed.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well, and I think vibes were pretty high before Rashee Rice's return. And the offense kind of looked good. Xavier Worthy came back. You saw that spark. You saw some juice on the offense. And then Rashee Rice comes back. 2 touchdowns in his first game. He's got like a 30% target share already. He's clearly the number one option. Patrick Mahomes got his number one option back. Now he's the front runner for MVP. Yeah, vibes are at an all-time high right now, even though there are some holes on this team.
And listen, I think that there are definitely holes on this Chiefs team. And we would be lying if we said that they were perfect. But if you look around the AFC, if you look around the NFL, all of these teams have substantial problems. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I'm going to trust the team with a playoff pedigree and a coach and quarterback and a defensive coordinator and a core that have done this before. The Chiefs gave the entire NFL a month head start, and they just let it slip between their fingers. And now the Chiefs are getting hot. They're getting guys back healthy. Adding Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy back into this offense was the shot that they needed. But now you're looking at a team that, although their record might be 4-3, and they're not currently in the playoffs if it started tomorrow, they're the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl, Kyle.
Right. Yeah, it's nuts. Since we last spoke 5 weeks ago, the Chiefs have gone 4-1. They have the highest point differential in the NFL since before that Giants game, actually. And it's just kind of been a wild turnaround. When Worthy went out and vibes were low, like we were talking about, I'm not saying I'm clairvoyant or anything, but I was kind of stressing patience. Like, they built this offense around Xavier Worthy until Rashee Rice could return in after week 6. And Worthy goes down, unfortunately, on the third play of the season, thanks to his own teammate, and people were panicking, I would say. Is that fair to say?
They were.
Yeah, people were panicking a little bit. The trades for running backs were already being thrown out there. The defensive line wasn't a problem at the time. There were signs, but we'll get there. But, yeah, since then, we've already talked about it. The number one option comes back. Mahomes is the betting favorite. It's time to roll,
When they got off to that slow start offensively where they struggled against the Chargers in Brazil, they struggled against the Eagles at home, and honestly, they kind of struggled against the Giants in the first half, and then they flipped that switch. Things started to click offensively, and ever since then, it has just been a gauntlet. The Chiefs have looked rejuvenated on offense, and I want to pull up this stat from Brett Coleman. The best scoring drive percentage the Chiefs have ever had in the Mahomes era was, of course, 2018 at a whopping 52.9%. No other Chiefs season in this era ever got above 50%, except for 2025. They're currently at 52.3%.
Yeah. The offense is absolutely back, and Darts, we've talked every week since preseason week 1 almost, and we were all expecting that a return to the Kansas City Chiefs of old. We were finally waiting to get that big three back: Hollywood, Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice, all on the same field together. It's finally happened, and even without all three of them playing at the same time in one game, like we saw in against Las Vegas, the Chiefs' defense is still 5th in points scored. They're like 2nd in DVOA and EPA per play, stuff like that. They're humming on all cylinders, and it feels like that 2023, the 2024 Chiefs, that's an offense of the old. They're explosive now.
What do we preach all offseason? That the Chiefs' offense had more playmakers at the wide receiver position than ever before. You had Rashee Rice coming off of an injury and a suspension, but you thought, okay, he could take that next step and maybe not be a number one wide receiver in terms of all other number one wide receivers, but he's immediately your number one wide receiver on your team. You have Xavier Worthy, who has improved upon his rookie season. And, Travis Kelce, although a year older, he is still very reliable at age 35. Yeah. Like, that is something, 36 now. The Chiefs' offense has gotten the pieces back that they didn't really have last year with more experience. Hollywood Brown has been a contributor on this offense, and when you put it all together, this is what the Chiefs envisioned at the start of last offseason. Right. And it's finally coming to fruition, and that's why you're seeing this offense, take another level that they haven't seen in, I guess, 5 years.
Yeah. No, it's been wild. And real quick, Darcy, I want to bring this up. This is a chart that tracks the most big plays per game. This is all the NFL teams through week 7. Rushes of 10-plus yards and receptions of 20-plus yards. The Chiefs, 25 rushes over 10 yards. I got to think at least 17 of those are Patrick Mahomes. Receptions over 20 yards. They got 20. Right now, your Kansas City Chiefs are top 5 in big plays per game. The explosion is back.
They are doing exactly what they said they were going to do preseason. Yep. And I think the first 2 weeks made a lot of fans weary that was going to happen. I think we will, I guess we know now, but losing Xavier Worthy on the first offensive drive of the season just derailed the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If you have him against the Eagles, maybe we see a different outcome. But honestly, I think, and I always go back and look at teams of old and see, okay, what does this one have in common with the last? If the Chiefs could go back in time and find out, we're going to be 4-3 to start this season, you tread water until your number one wide receiver comes back, but your offense will click at some point. You finally have that knockout punch that you lacked all of last season. Your defense is going to continue to ball and get better, but your record's not as good. I think the Chiefs in 2025 at 4-3 are a better football team than they were all of last season when they went 15-2.
That, I 100% agree with, and that really is just a testament to just how nails the coaching staff was last year. To have your number one wide receiver, your bell cow, not bell cow, that's a running back term, but Patrick Mahomes' favorite target, Rashee Rice, goes down last year with an ACL, LCL tear, and the playbook was kind of doomed from there because you weren't really expecting Xavier Worthy to just take over a number one wide receiver role. Not to mention Hollywood Brown didn't even start the regular season. He got knocked out in preseason game 1 that year, right?
Last year. You lost Pacheco, and you had to sign Kareem Hunt off the couch.
Right. So it's amazing that they even went 15-2 last year, and then fast forward to this year. I think preseason. I think we discussed it. What would you like the Chiefs' record to be? Post week 6, those first 6 weeks of the season, I think I would have expected 4-2 had Xavier Worthy not gotten hurt. But you went into that Raiders game 3-3. Rashee Rice comes back. You put on a clinic, and now you go because now you've got a tough part of the schedule coming up.
I think really the only game that they gave away was that game in Jacksonville. I think the Chiefs realistically should be 5-2.
I agree.
Now, obviously, you can't go back and change, if we had Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy against the Eagles, you didn't. Mm-hmm. You should have won the game in Jacksonville. You gave it away. The offense with the 14-point swing on the pick 6, the defense just completely melting down on that final drive. That was a blip on the radar. I don't think that's going to be the theme this season, and I think they've done a pretty good job over the past couple weeks of righting those wrongs. I think the biggest win of this season, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we didn't have a show, when the Chiefs beat the Lions 30-17 on Sunday Night Football, I think that was the statement win the Chiefs needed to turn their season around. Because now, you beat the brakes off of the Baltimore Ravens, but they have completely spiraled.
Yep.
You beat a Raiders team that is probably going to be picking top 3.
Yep.
How can you pick at the Lions and the game that you played? Because you didn't just beat them by a touchdown. You beat them by 13 points at home. That was the statement win the Chiefs needed, and I think that was the win that when we get done with this regular season and we point at the wins that look like championship caliber wins, that's the one.
Yeah, the Chiefs beat the Lions by 2 touchdowns, and after the game, the Chiefs got to say, oh yeah, and we don't even have Rashee Rice back yet. And the Lions are one of the betting favorites to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, right? It's either them or Philly, and the Chiefs go out there and kind of controlled that game start to finish. I know the Lions opened up that game with like an 8 to 10 minute drive, but after that it was all Chiefs, and to do that without Rashee Rice back, bravo.
When I think that they understand after losing that game in Jacksonville, it's real now. We cannot, Patrick Mahomes has even said it in his press conferences that we already feel like we've lost too many games. Mm. And so to say that Lions game was a must win at that point in the season's probably not the most realistic, way to call it. But I think with how the season was trending, if you lose the Lions game, things could start to slip. I don't think I'd be sitting here with as much optimism as I do if you lost to the Lions and then, you beat the Raiders, but the Raiders, we could have beat the Raiders. They went for 3 first downs, 2 of them passing, 1 came from penalties. They had fewer than 100 yards of offense in that game. Kyle, we could have ran the ball against that Raiders defense. They were that bad.
Hopefully away from Max Crosby.
Hopefully.
I wouldn't want any of that.
He wasn't even on the field for half the time.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I did forget about that. But, yeah, you're right. That Lions game, that's why, people started freaking out so hard after that Jacksonville game because you knew you had Detroit coming to town, and Detroit looks like a freight train when they play anybody except the Chiefs. And so, that game kind of was in must-win territory because if you lost that game, you were just going to dig an even deeper hole for yourself just in the AFC West, not even in the AFC playoff picture, which you're still not in. But, it was important to get that win over the Lions. And, like I said, you're 4-3 now. You're above 500, and I feel like you've got the toughest stretch of your season coming up.
When I mentioned it earlier on in the show, the Chiefs gave the NFL a month head start. They gave the AFC West a month head start. They started off 0-2. The Chargers started off 3-0 and beat every single team in the division. And they have collapsed. The Broncos have had some impressive wins, but they have also lost a couple games that they shouldn't have. And is anyone looking at the Broncos like, oh yeah, they're going to, win out the rest of their games and only lose 2 more? No,
Right.
They're probably going to lose, at least one of those head-to-head matches with the Chiefs, and they still got to play some good teams on their schedule. And the Raiders,
if not for a miracle, they probably would have dropped that game to the Giants if their kicker could hit an extra point.
Literally.
They probably lose that game.
and then you're looking at, the Broncos, Chiefs, and Chargers are all at 4-3.
Yeah.
And the Raiders are 2-5. Their season's over.
They're
We don't
out.
even really have to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think for the Chiefs to be in this position after forfeiting the first month of the season and just giving up these gimme games, I mean, the Chargers could have run away with it if they were actually healthy and didn't charger, for lack of a better term. They could be up multiple games in this division right now, and then you're looking up at them like, all right, this deficit's a little bit hard to surmise overcoming.
Yeah, then the Chiefs are probably looking at a 5, 6, or 7 seed in the playoffs.
But the West is still very much so in reach.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I think, I'm sure we could go to look at, BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel. It doesn't matter. I'm sure the Chiefs are the favorite to win the division. Even though they're 4-3,
have to be.
They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. How many teams are not in the current playoff picture and have positive odds to win the whole thing? That is absurd. Yeah. That just shows you that the smart people in Vegas, the places that you go that are not built off of losers, those people think, this Chiefs team's going to figure it out. They're going to be okay.
Yeah, looking at the sports book right now, I'm seeing the Chiefs as the favorite, plus 500, Lions in second, Bills third, Packers, and then Eagles, and then the Rams. Yeah, the Chiefs are the only ones not projected to be in the playoffs, and they're the favorite.
That is absurd. And I think, like you said, the Chiefs' difficult portion of their schedule has passed. I think even though you have to play Buffalo, you've got to play the Commanders, which is seeming like less of a difficult challenge now, and we'll get into that. But I think the bulk of the difficult games, because you didn't have your number one wide receiver, are now over because you have him now. And even games that would be difficult, you at least know, okay, offensively, we've got enough to go out and, beat the Colts. We've got enough to go toe-to-toe with the Bills. If you don't have your number one option, you might not feel so confident.
Now, I'm going to disagree a little bit here. I do think this is tough. Yeah, Marcus Mariota is going to be starting for Jaden Daniels on Monday Night Football. But the Bills have a rest advantage, having already had their bye last week. I know they played I can't remember who the hell they played last week. But
they played the Falcons, and then they played the Patriots. They lost back-to-back games.
That's right. And then they had their bye. And then so Buffalo's got that rest advantage. Chiefs going to be playing a Monday night game against the Commanders. So with Buffalo coming up, I kind of worry about, is this a look-ahead game, a trap game? I'm not going to say that this Chiefs staff or the coaching, the players are going to be ready. I feel like they're juiced up. We don't have to worry about a trap game there. They just got Rashee Rice back. They're firing on all cylinders right now. I'm not worried about that Monday night game, but you're playing Buffalo on short rest, and I think whoever wins that game, that's going to determine probably your number one seed in the AFC. If the Chiefs can just get on a roll, then the Chiefs do have a bye. But then they got Denver, then they got Indy. Those are going to be teams you're going to be chasing, because right now Indy is the 1 seed. They've only got one loss in the record book, and then Denver, you still got to face Denver twice. Those are going to be important games for the AFC West. But like you said, I feel like the AFC West is still well within reach.
I think what makes me feel the best is that while the Chiefs started off in a hole, they still control their own destiny. Mm-hmm. They could still get the number 1 seed in the AFC with 3 losses in October. They have to go out and handle their business against Buffalo and, Indy and honestly Denver, because Denver's schedule, I think they're going to be a playoff team, mm-hmm. but you control your own destiny. If you go out there and take care of business, the Arrowhead Invitational, it's back.
Yeah, the only problem with the 1 seed in the AFC is the Colts, kind of a soft schedule. The Bills, definitely a soft schedule. The Chiefs, it's it's looking a little bit softer. I'm not sure how real the Colts are yet. I know Indiana Jones there for the Colts is playing well, but the MVP of that team has been Jonathan Taylor. And frankly, I trust the Chiefs' run defense to any star rusher they go against, they can contain pretty easily. And yeah, the Cowboys, that game's going to be a shootout. You can score on the Cowboys' defense, but they can put up points. Denver is just a defense that I feel like always plays Kansas City tough, no matter what state their offense is in or what quarterback they're trotting out there. Then you got the Chargers who are broken down and beaten. The Texans who just C.J. Stroud just does not look the same anymore. Then you got the Titans, and then you got the Raiders again. So after Buffalo, you hit your bye. Yeah, you are feeling good. That AFC 1 seed could be there. It just depends on if the Colts drop a few and or the Bills drop a few.
I'm confident that if the Chiefs find a way to beat Buffalo and Indy, they will get the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because I think that the Colts have a couple more games on their schedule that could be iffy with what we've seen from Buffalo the past 2 weeks. Yeah, their offense is great. Josh Allen is a really fun quarterback to watch, but that defense continues to suck.
Yeah.
Yearly. They're not good yearly. It's like, oh, Josh Allen's so great. He's an MVP candidate, and it's like, Matt Milano's hurt every other week, and that secondary is not very good. And the same way that we talked about the Chiefs need to help out Patrick Mahomes with the pass catchers, they're starting to have that conversation in Buffalo. Yeah. They're kind of turning on, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman and the guys that they have out there. They're like, we got to help Josh.
Right. And, any matchup, you match up any team with Kansas City, you can worry about Kansas City's thin defensive line at the moment, and I'm sure we'll get to that later in the show, but you're going to have to compete against Kansas City's offense again, right? It's no longer you got to try to figure out Spagnuolo and his creative blitzes and somehow make that Kansas City defensive wall break, not just bend, but you break through it. I feel like the Chiefs defense can bend, but that's the least of your worries because you've got their full strength offense to deal with too. You have to worry about getting into a shootout, and I don't think there are many teams who can compete with the Chiefs in a shootout.
When was the last time, if ever, that you have felt this confident about the Chiefs on both sides of the football?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, man. Probably the year that they beat Philly in the Super Bowl.
I think this defense is better, and I think the offense has the potential to be better. Because if we go back and rewind and look at that 2023 Super Bowl, Mahomes won throwing touchdown passes to Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and MVS.
Good point.
Now, if we fast forward to February and the Chiefs are playing in Santa Clara against the NFC, and Patrick Mahomes is throwing touchdowns in the Super Bowl to Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown, maybe we're having the same conversation 5 years from now. Yep. But offensively, I read the stat from Brett Coleman. The Chiefs' offense is scoring on over 50% of their offensive drives, and the defense is top 5.
Yeah.
When has this ever been the case that both sides of the ball are playing truly elite at the same time?
I think it had to be 2023, right? Because that year, I remember.
That's what I think.
I remember the Eagles were leading the league in sacks. The Chiefs were second place, right behind them. And you had L'Jarius Sneed. McDuffie was a rookie, or that was his second year.
No, that was the Super Bowl where Karlaftis, McDuffie, and Chenal were all rookies.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, but I still feel like the defense was a smidge better that year. Actually, I think it was better that year. The difference in this year's team is your offense looks even more explosive.
The offense, I think, can take this team to another level. And I'm actually looking at the Chiefs' defensive scoring statistics. The Chiefs held opponents to 17.3 points per game. That's
this year. Or
this is 2023.
2023. Okay,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's bananas.
And as an offense, they were only putting up 21.8. That was the season where, you know what? No, I'm getting my years confused. I'm getting my 2024. Where am I?
No.
Did the Chiefs
2022, 2023? They beat Philly in the Super Bowl.
But 2023 against San Francisco was the year where wide receivers were not catching passes in the regular season, correct?
Oh, good point.
This is like,
yeah.
We have had so much success. No, 2022.
That's hard to keep it straight.
2023 Super Bowl, the first against Philly, that team arguably was the best of the Mahomes era. This team has a chance to be better.
I'm with you there. Unless something crazy happens, they're not going to have those sack numbers. But you got to feel confident in your secondary. I mean, you sign a guy like Christian Fulton to 2 years for 20, and he's been a healthy scratch the last 2 weeks. You feel like you don't even need that guy. Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie are near the top in PFF grades, as is Brian Cook. He's 4th out of 83 safeties. Did you see that coming? I asked for an average Brian Cook. After last year, we've gotten great Brian Cook. They've just filled holes like Justin Reed leaving. They get rid of Joe Tooney. Kingsley Suamataia steps in. He's been a solid pass blocker too the last 3 or 4 weeks as well. He continues to rise. Right now I'm looking at PFF points allowed. Chiefs defense, they're 4th. So they're not really getting after the quarterback, but your corners, your safeties, they're locking it down. So if they do get to the quarterback, it's usually due to a coverage sack. But yeah, you got to feel good about where the Chiefs are headed, and to be only 4-3, not in the playoffs right now, but you're the betting favorite. It's kind of ridiculous the turnaround they made.
The magic number for the Chiefs offense is 25. Can you score 25 points? And if you can, with the Chiefs defense playing the way they have over the past half decade, you're going to win the football game. Point blank simple. If your offense can just get to that threshold, more often than not, you're going to win.
Yeah, a full strength Kansas City Chiefs offense, it puts even more pressure on opposing play callers and head coaches, because you feel like you've got to stay in the shootout with Kansas City. You feel like you've got to put up at least 30 if you want to have a chance at winning that ball game. That makes teams press. That makes teams force the issue, and mistakes can happen that way. And the Chiefs are really good at taking advantage of teams when they make mistakes.
When so often the Chiefs were always the team that capitalized on a fumble, an interception, a turnover, or even just getting a stop on defense. And in the first month of the season, those one-score wins weren't happening. Like last year, they were perfect in one-score games. Yeah. They started their season losing those games. Yeah. And in fact, the Chiefs have not won a close game this year. It's all been blowouts, which I don't think was on the bingo card coming into 2025, but that's the point we're at. But I think that overall, we feel much better about this team in 2025 with the way the offense and defense are playing in week 8 of the NFL season than we did all of last year.
100%. And, just looking at offenses of the past 2, 3, or 4 years, Hollywood Brown being your number 3 wide receiver, Tyquan Thornton, guy with his speed, his ability to separate, go deep, basically your number 4 option in the wide receiver room, that is. And then you've got Kelsey there, who's not the Kelsey of old, not prime Kelsey, but he's a dependable tight end. He's gonna get you that first down on 3rd and 6, right? There's so many options. I feel like it's going to be impossible for NFL defenses to game plan for whatever weapon Andy Reid feels like throwing the ball to.
Well, the Chiefs have been so good this year in so many areas, but there are a few areas that they need to address and go out and trade for somebody. With the trade deadline approaching, they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I want to talk about some potential trade candidates in the defensive line and in the running back room, and we'll do that right after this break. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB.